Hey there, fellow soil enthusiast. Welcome back to Grow with Soil. Today we're diving deep into one of the most crucial skills every gardener needs to master submitting plants properly. Whether you're moving seedlings from indoors to your garden bed, or transplanting from nursery, pots, to their permanent home, getting this right can mean the difference between plants that merely survive and those that absolutely thrive. I know transplanting can feel nerve-wracking, especially when you've nurtured those seedlings from tiny seeds or invested in beautiful nursery plants. But here's the truth. With the right techniques and a little confidence, you can make every transplant a success story. Let me walk you through everything I've learned from years of getting my hands dirty in the garden. Before we even think about digging holes, let's talk about timing and preparation. Your plants are about to experience what I call relocation stress, and our job is to minimize that shock as much as possible. Think of it like moving to a new house. You'd want everything ready before arrival, right? The ideal time for transplanting is during the cooler parts of the day, either early morning or late afternoon. I personally prefer late afternoon because it gives plants the entire night to settle in without immediately facing the stress of midday sun. On overcast days, you've hit the jackpot. Clouds provide natural protection while your plants adjust to their new surroundings. Water your plants thoroughly the day before transplanting. This ensures they're well hydrated and the soil holds together better around the roots, which is especially important for bare root transplants or when you're dividing perennials. Dry soil crumbles away from roots, leaving them exposed and vulnerable. Here's where many gardeners rush, and I get it. You're excited to get those plants in the ground, but soil preparation is absolutely critical. I always tell viewers on Grow with Soil that the work you do before planting matters just as much as everything that comes after. Start by working your soil to a depth of at least 12 inches. This loosens compacted earth and allows roots to establish quickly. Mix in generous amounts of compost or well-aged manure. I aim for about 3 to 4 inches worked into the top layer. This organic matter improves drainage in clay soils and helps sandy soils retain moisture, creating that perfect balance plants crave. Hey, if you haven't checked your soil pH recently, now's a good time to do it. Most vegetables and flowers, they really thrive in slightly acidic to neutral soil, somewhere around 6.0 to 7.0, but honestly, every plant has its own preferences. Blueberries, for example, love acidic soil, while brassicas are going to do better in something a bit more alkaline. Understanding where your soil stands right now helps you make any needed adjustments before you start planting, instead of scrambling to fix problems down the road. This is honestly where I see the most mistakes, even from folks who've been gardening for years. When you're taking plants out of their containers, never ever pull them out by the stem. Doing that can damage or even break the connection between the roots and the foliage. And that's pretty much a death sentence for your plant. So, instead, what you want to do is turn the container upside down while supporting the base of the plant with your hand. Then, just tap the bottom and sides of the pot gently. The root ball should slide out in one piece. If it's being stubborn, you can run a knife around the inside edge of the pot, or just give it a little extra persuasion with those taps. And for bigger containers, you might need to lay them on their side and work the plant out gradually. Once you've got the plant out, take a moment to examine the roots. If they're circling around the outside of the root ball, what we call root bound, you need to break up that pattern. I use my fingers to gently tease apart the outer roots, loosening them so they'll grow outward into the soil, rather than continuing to circle. For severely root-bound plants, make 3 or 4 vertical cuts down the sides of the root ball with a clean knife. It seems brutal, but it actually stimulates new root growth in the right direction. Your planting hole should be about twice as wide as the root ball but only as deep as the root ball itself. This is crucial. Planting too deep is one of the most common reasons transplants fail. When plants sit too low, stems can rot, and roots may suffocate from lack of oxygen. The general rule is to plant so the top of the root ball sits level with the surrounding soil surface, or even slightly above it in heavy clay soils that tend to settle. Tomatoes are the famous exception. They actually benefit from deep planting because they'll form roots along the buried stem, creating a stronger plant. But for most everything else, maintain that original soil line. place your plant in the hole and, step back to check the positioning before backfilling. This is your last chance to adjust the depth and orientation. Once you're satisfied, begin filling the hole with the soil you removed, working it gently around the roots to eliminate air pockets. These pockets can dry out roots or cause them to die back, so, take your time here. After you've filled the hole about halfway, pause and water thoroughly. This isn't just about hydration, it's about settling the soil around roots and ensuring good contact. Let that water soak in completely, then finish filling the hole with the remaining soil. Create a shallow basin or moat around each plant by mounding soil in a circle about 6 inches from the stem. This temporary feature helps direct water to the root zone rather than letting it run off, which is especially helpful on slopes or in sandy soils. The basin will naturally erode over time, which is honestly perfectly fine. Alright, once planting is complete, it's time to water again. You want to give each transplant a slow, deep soaking. I'm talking about really saturating that root zone. The soil should be moist to the depth of the root ball and slightly beyond. This is going to encourage those roots to grow downward and outward, establishing a strong foundation. Now, the first 2 weeks after transplanting are, well, make or break time. Your plants need consistent moisture as they develop new roots, so make sure to check soil moisture daily. Just stick your finger 2 inches into the ground near each plant. If it feels dry at that depth, it's time to water. Consider providing temporary shade for the first few days, especially if you're transplanting during warm weather. A simple shade cloth propped on stakes, or even an upturned basket with ventilation holes during the hottest part of the day, can really prevent transplant shock from sun stress. I've saved countless transplants this way. Hold off on fertilizing for at least 2 to 3 weeks after transplanting. Your plants need to focus their energy on root development, not top growth. Once you see signs of new growth, fresh leaves unfurling, stems elongating, you'll know the roots have established, and you can begin a gentle feeding program. Mulch around your transplants with 2 to 3 inches of organic material like shredded bark straw or compost. Keep the mulch pulled back a few inches from the stem to prevent moisture-related diseases, but otherwise, let it work its magic. Mulch regulates soil temperature, conserves moisture, suppresses weeds, and slowly adds nutrients as it breaks down. Even with perfect technique, some plants will show signs of transplant shock. Wilting leaves, yellowing, or temporary growth stalling are normal responses to the stress of relocation. Don't panic. This is your plant's way of conserving resources while it focuses on root establishment underground. So, the key here is distinguishing between normal adjustment and serious problems. Temporary wilting that improves with evening cooling or after watering is, pretty normal. But if you notice persistent wilting even though there's enough moisture, or maybe browning leaf edges, or leaves dropping off, that usually suggests something more serious like root damage or disease. If your transplants struggle, resist the urge to overcompensate with extra water or fertilizer. More often than not, this makes things worse. Instead, ensure consistent moisture without waterlogging, provide shade if it's hot, and, just give your plants some time. Most recover within a week or two. Mastering the art of transplanting opens up incredible possibilities in your garden. You can start seeds indoors for earlier harvests, divide perennials to multiply your favorite plants, and confidently purchase nursery stock knowing you'll give it the best possible start. Remember, every gardener has killed plants during transplanting. I certainly have. Each failure teaches us something valuable about timing, technique, or the specific needs of different plants. The important thing is to keep experimenting, learning, and growing. If you found this guide helpful, I'd love for you to subscribe to Grow with Soil for more in-depth gardening content that actually makes a difference in your garden. Share this with a fellow gardener who's ready to level up their transplanting game, and drop a comment telling me what you're transplanting this season. Let's grow together, one plant at a time. Happy gardening, friends!